CCIE enterprise infrastructure, right? So we'll get to know some of the things about Cisco, Cisco Tech, and Cisco certification track, right? Then what we want to do about? We want to understand the CCI exam in particular, what is required to be a CCI, and then what kind of the pattern is there for the exam, and what are some of the tips and tricks that we can follow to make this journey, this arduous journey of CCI number that can be, more interesting, more fun, and more enjoyable, right? To gather all the required technical, what should I say, concepts in our arsenal, and along with that, the preparation part. Because studying for the lab is one thing, and actually preparing the lab is a different thing. So if you see this course, we call it one end-to-end course. If you know that, I believe already, right? So first, we'll discuss all the technological aspects, technology part, right? So for coming 3 months or so, we'll be with each other, and the next somewhere here we'll talk about the, what should I say, CCI, EI, syllabus or curriculum, you can say. So there we'll see what we are going to cover in here. 4, 5 different modules which are important from our lab exam, and also not just exam, this CCI training that you'll be going through. You are preparing for a lab, that's great. Otherwise, not all or everybody joining CCI batches, they don't go for the labs. So in your daily production environment, it helps you learning BGP, learning MPLS, DMVPN, and the new, trend in the market from last quite some time, 3, 4, 4, 5 years is SDN, which is a game changer, right? So whatever your need is, you are in here. So we'll learn all those technologies that will cover that, what is going to be there, which part we are going to focus more, which part we are going to take it easy, because it's not like you use daily out there in your networks or not even in the lab. And there may be some people who are just there upgrading, upskilling themselves for the high paying jobs, right? Or want to shift to another part of the country or the world, maybe. So everybody is welcome in this batch, and we'll see some discussion around that. Okay, pattern and requirement, we'll see what it takes to be a CCI. Again, I'm saying there are certain things that you need to follow first, then only we can go for a CCI. And then we'll see what we can provide you with for the preparation of the technology part, and what the second thing is about your lab preparation part, if you know what I mean by that. So we'll be there with each other until unless if you book your lab, you want to appear for the lab, and you want your number. All right, so that's why we call it one end-to-end program. So there are things like that. So we'll get started with Cisco and Cisco's certification track. So you guys know very well, I believe, all of you are mature, experienced person going for CCI, that earlier we had the CCNA, right? So we had different CCNAs, the classical routing and switching, the service provider, the security, the wireless, the DC, and all that, right? But now, from last some years, we have just what? 200, 301, right? So what I want as a prerequisite, if I say that to join this course or to start this course, what you need to know from my angle, you should be good with CCNA. That's it. I don't want you to be expert in CCNP. If you are, that's great. Otherwise, if you know your IP concepts, your subnetting concepts, all right, the basic of your network devices part, right? And your layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 terminologies and all those things, right? If you understand, if you know what a switch is, what switching is, what routing is, and that's good for me. All right, that's one thing. That's what I expect from you guys, not more than that. If it is there, fantastic. The next part, any question? on this one so far? Anybody?
No, from my side.
Great. So next talking about the CCIE, EI, number or lab, if I may say that like this. What is required? First, if you remember earlier, we had that CCI written exam. If you know about that, right? Not so long, ago, we had a CCI written, and then along with that, you had a CCI lab exam. So this made you a CCI earlier. But today, the game has changed and it's not like this. CCI written is no such exam today. What they do, they are kind of, giving you a great choice here. Earlier, if you were clearing your CCI written, it was having no value kind of. It was not at all a certificate or something. It was just a requirement for your CCI. But nowadays, what they are saying, okay, you pass your CCNP core exam. So, for example, if you want to go for CCI Enterprise Infrastructure, so you pass your core exam of that CCNP. So, what is that for us? And core. So, if you pass this, you have a certificate. You have a value now. Even if you don't appear for your lab, you have a valuable certificate. You can mention in your resume and you can showcase it. All right. So this is one thing. So what my point is, to be a CCI now, what you need is this Encore, right? In our case, 350,401 and plus my CCIE exam. All right. So these two things are needed. One CCNP and core, and then if you pass that, only then you are eligible to book your CCI lab exam. Is that okay? Good. This is required if you want to appear for CCI. Okay. What kind of exam we can expect when we appear for the lab? So if I say CCIE EI lab, so now it's not just lab like earlier it used to be 10, 12 hours. Now this is one 8 hours exam. All right. And this 8 hours exam is divided into two parts. One is your first module. So they call it two modules. One module is design, which is of 3 hours. And then we have the second one, which is of 5 hours. So what the design is and what do is. Design is where you get those scenario based questions, right? So you are like, let's say the network manager or network engineer for a certain ABC XYZ company, and you are getting the contract for building a network for, let's say, some XYZ company. All right. So the organization people in authority, let's say their CEO, their CTO, their managers, and all the project related people, they get in touch with you. Let's say you are just engineer, maybe you are the owner there, and they explain some of their requirements, and based on that, they ask you what solution we can implement, what product to buy, which features to use, which technologies to implement. All those questions will be there in the design module. Okay, so it will be one 3 hour exam, and there you will be tested thoroughly for your understanding of your CCIE networks, right? So how they are designed, how they actually work, and how you can make them better, efficient, secure, and things like that. That's the design part. So here there is no lab, no hands-on as such, no configuration as such. You'll find some chat, you'll find some emails, you'll find some document. You'll find the resources there by Cisco, kind of open book exam. You can access not internet, but Cisco resources, right? And based on those, you can inform yourself and make the informed decisions and can select your answers based on that. This is the design. 3 hours. Not many questions are there, but they are very, what should I say, in-depth question. The questions will feel like, okay, they are very easy CCNA level of questions, but what they expect you to get in, like in and out, get under the skin of those questions and to actually understand them and actually go, not like, okay, just remind yourself again and again that I'm appearing for CCI, not just for CCNA. So just stretch your thinking, your thought process, and then come up with the best recommended solution. So answer may feel like, okay, if you want to select or if you need to select 2 out of 5, so you'll feel like, okay, all 5 looks good. They looks right. And then you need to come up with the 2 answers. So it is going to be like that kind of intensive exam. That's why it takes time, 3 hours, right? Not much questions will be there, like 150 questions, no. But it will test you like a lot, or your understanding, how actually you know your technologies. That's where the design part comes into picture. 3 hours. Okay, any question? All good? First part of the exam, same day, same 8 hours. First 3 hours are going to be about the design. Okay, 3 hours. If you attempt and let's say you complete it in 2 or 2.5 hours, the remaining half an hour or 1 hour maybe you cannot add in here, and you cannot say that I'll get 6 hours here or 5.5 hours. No, this is fixed and this is fixed. You cannot carry forward your time of the design if you complete that early in your do section. No, you cannot. Okay, one part. Now, if I talk about my do, what is that? This is design, this is operate, and this is optimize. So the network, okay, not design actually. It is design we already are done with, right, in the first module. So now it is deploy, operate, and optimize. So this is like where you will actually do the hands-on. This is your actual lab now, where you'll get access of the console of the devices. You'll configure whatever you have designed. So whatever you have spent time for, let's say last 2 or 3 hours, they'll say, okay, based on whatever you have designed, now you need to configure your network. You need to deploy that. Okay. So the same company is designing the network and same company, your company, is deploying the network. So now you need to configure various technologies that in a moment or next we'll discuss that what technology Cisco expect us for this exam and what they ask in the exam, or what this CCIE lab exam is going to revolve around. We'll talk about all those technologies. So which technology has a role in which part of the network and how much. All right. So that is deploy. You'll configure, actually, this is where you'll get your hands dirty in real sense. Once your network is designed and deployed, you have configured, let's say, your FHRP, your network services, your security, your STP, your OSPF, BGP, MPL, SDM, VPN, SDN technologies. Then it will be about, okay, now how you can make it better. All right. Now how you can make it more efficient, all right, and how you can make it more secure. So all that optimization part will come after that, right? So you'll deploy, configure, verify, and get it into the day one state, and after that in day n state you will optimize your network. This is like a movie. They want you to consider it. So the movie start, they build up the story, then it get interesting, then it get intense around the interval, and then you go towards that climax, or what we call that, fulfillment. So the same thing here Cisco expect us. So first they design, they allow you to design or they ask you to design, they deploy, then you operate, you run that, you do your verifications, and you come up to the exact required solutions, and then optimize the network for all the upcoming. If some technology is coming which can make your EIGRP more secure, which can make your OSPF more scalable, all right, do it. That's your exam. Any questions so far? Just the pattern we are trying to discuss here. Design and do. All good? Any question?
Yes. No.
Yes.
All right, great. Now coming to the passing part, passing marks and all that. So Cisco doesn't disclose any fixed number or criteria here. But one interesting thing that I may want to point out is that let's say if we have a design part, we have the do part, and there is a threshold here. All right. So let's say it is 75%, and let's say this is 75%, or this is 80%. Nobody knows for sure, but in Cisco Live, some of the sessions there, they explain it like this. I have put some screenshot in the slides. I'll show you later on how it goes. So you need to pass here, but with a good percentage. You need to pass here with a good percentage, and then only you pass. If you fail this, you pass this, you fail. If you pass this, you fail this, you fail. Okay. Sometimes, just to mention that because it has happened, sometimes people pass both, still they fail because of this minimum threshold. So that's how they are making it interesting. But yes, that's how it goes. So there is a certain percentage that they expect you will understand when you'll take the lab, and you'll feel that okay, now I'm confident, and that's how you will come to know that you passed or not. But yes, I should not talk more about that because that's not the liberty that Cisco gives us. So we need to be just pretty confident about our preparation and understanding the lab equipments, if it is physical, if it is logical or virtual, and what we are supposed to configure from one technology perspective, how it is different from another, and what we need to pay more attention to, and what we can skip a little bit. So now coming to the more important part, all right? So how should I start that? If I talk about preparation part, all right. So first thing is your do. Okay, not do actually. It is your design and do. Now, if I ask you, which one do you think feels like more, uh, what should I say, tough, complex? Design, which is just question answer, no hands-on. This looks like more intimidating, or this do where you actually do a lot of things. Yes, what do you think? Which one seems like the tough part to complete or to pass?
I think from my perspective, it's a design.
Okay, you have any prior experience with that?
No, this I'm
No.
assuming.
Yeah, I'm also stick with the same. Design is the very toughest one.
Okay. Yes. Why is that? Not so many questions, a great 3 hours of time. Then why design so hard?
Because multiple way we can design the network, but Cisco will expect that optimized or better efficient one.
The
Uh, if
expert
you-
word.
yes, and
Please.
if you have the design, if you have the perfect design, you can do the other part. I mean, the do part, make it easy. This is what I think. If you have a good
Make it
design.
is. Yes. Yes. And you'll be not surprised to know that 70% people fail here, not here. Okay, so this is that much crucial. So when we'll get through the technology classes, we'll keep talking about the topics and the technologies or the features which are important from which perspective: the design, the deploy, the operate, or optimize. So you will kind of get a sense in your head or the picture that will help you in the lab if you are attempting one. That's one part. Second part, what I personally feel like that this exam is not just about your technical competence. Okay. you just get the 5 hours to complete your 3 sections. All right. So there will be section under this exam, there will be section 1, section 2, section. So there will be like 4, 5, 5, 6 sections, and under there will be some subsections. So some questions will be there. So you'll be tested like that. And when they say that in some of the exam, when you are preparing earlier, maybe some government exam or something, and you feel like, okay, I knew this, I knew that, I knew that, and I could have attempted that if I had only the more time. So this time limit is one more constraint that many people fails. So we need to prepare ourselves in 2 areas in a great way: the design part and the time management. Because why time? Because you are under stress. Okay, you are under the performance pressure there, right? You need to make everything right and make everything right fast. That's why it can be intimidating. So when we'll do the lab preparation sessions after the technology classes, so it will be like more of our focus. All right, so not just we'll prepare for the technology, we'll also prepare for the lab. That's how it is going to be, this end-to-end training of ours. Any questions so far? All good?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right. Now, after that, if I talk about the content of CCIE, right? So how they have designed this curriculum. Let me just give you one brief about that, and then I'll show you the exact curriculum. So what they have, let's say they have this one site here, okay? They have the site here. They have some sites like this. And let's say this is one site where you have a layer 2 network going on. All right. So you have your core switch, you have your distribution switches, and then you have your access switches, right? Same kind of, so let me just make it for, step by step, one by one. So first part is the network infrastructure of the curriculum, where they have given you some layer 2 technologies like VLAN. So these switches have these trunk links. So VLAN and trunk, right? And on the trunk, there are, different devices in different VLANs here. They are passing through these trunk links. So this is first technology in the layer 2 network infrastructure, right? Switching that we call. Then VTP is not there. Earlier it was there. So sometimes they add, sometimes they remove. They keep playing around VTP. Then we are interconnecting these switch to switch links, and what it creates a loop. So for that they have STP. So STP, RSTP, MSTP, and some enhancement feature of STP and the security feature of STP. All right. Then also they have multiple links here to use like this. So there is ether channel as well. So these are the technologies in the switched network infrastructure they are going to test you. Okay. So some of the sites in the exam may be the traditional sites where you are using just the traditional way of accessing and configuring the devices one by one, taking console, configuring, and that, distributed control plane. And some of the sites will be traditional, that modern, or what we call that, software based, right? SDN based. So we'll see later on that the 40% of your lab curriculum is about the modern part, or the software defined networking part. Your SDN is including SD-WAN and SDA. Right, so we'll talk more about that in a moment. So first part, the network infrastructure and layer 2. Also, there can be layer 3. There will be layer 3. So what layer 3 includes? It will be your routing. So some of the static part, some of maybe somewhere here and there default part. Then it will be your dynamic routing. OSPF will be there. EIGRP will be there. So here in these sites, if you are doing the routing, then you'll be using those routing protocols. Also, in a moment when we'll talk about the transport technologies in the DMVPN, you may need or you will need the routing as well. Also, when we'll do the SD-WAN part, we'll also need the routing. So it will be used a lot. All right. So we'll spend a lot of time understanding the IGPs, and then we also have the BGP. All right. So we have different organizations or different service providers. So if you want to connect them, service provider 1, ISP 1 or ISP 2, you connect them. So this is going to be BGP. So here it is going to be IGP and here it is going to be BGP. All right. Okay, we have a message somewhere. Give me a second. Do we have ISIS as well under IGP? No, we don't have ISIS pillar. There is only OSPF and EIGRP. Okay. Okay. So coming back here, if only I can see my screen. Okay. So that's what it is. Now, let me complete this part. Only then this picture will be clear. So we also have that. So this is my traditional part. We have some IP services as well. Let's say your DHCP will be there and your, what is there? SNMP, NTP. We'll see what is there, what is not. Not much of this is in the part. Multicast, QoS, just a little bit, some percentage of them. So we'll not focus that much here on this section. Where we'll focus more on. Okay, so this will be, the USP of the class or the CCIE will be your modern or the trending, or what should I say, the current in demand way of doing the networking, which is SDN. So SDN, if you know, we have SD-WAN solution, we have SDA solution, and we have the ACI solution. You know about them? Where which one is used?
Nope.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Maybe some of you does, some of you don't. So let me just give you a little idea about the normal networking and the modern or software-based networking. Earlier in our, if let's say networks, we have 100 switches, one by one, we need to take control of the switches, configure them, and then we put them or deploy them in the networks. If we have some new devices as well, we would do the same. So it was a time consuming, error prone. If you make a 22 instead of 2, that would make a mess, right? So network engineer was responsible for doing all the configurations manually. It would take time and error chances were there and the company cost was there and deployment delays were there. So things like this, okay, all the human related things or limitations. Now here, and also it was a what should I say, distributed control plane. Control plane means what? If I have 100 routers, each is going to be configured with OSPF, for example. Each is going to have its routing table, and if a packet comes to one router, it need to make its forwarding decision based on its local routing table. All right, so we have configured OSPF on 100 routers. Every router knows where to reach or how to reach those particular destinations. So you don't need to ask anybody for the destination how to reach there. Now in today's network, what do we have? We have changed, or Cisco and other vendors out there from last a decade or so, they have changed this way of doing networking, and now they are saying that somewhere. So if I say now that I have a data center here, so this is the company's site one, okay? Site one of one company, site two of one company, site three, site four, and site one and two is the traditional site. Traditional. But site three and four, they are saying that these are my modern or SDN based sites. So here I have such devices which are capable of being operated by the software. In the SD-WAN, SDA, we will see, we will understand that Not all the traditional devices which are out there, the router switches and all, they are not supported on these softwares. So Cisco has made some changes in the hardware. So they have implemented certain ASIC chips which can be reprogrammed as per the network intent. So we'll talk about all what these jargons are, what these terms are, and what does it actually means. But the key point, the hardware and software on the devices should be in such a way that they are supported on the controllers. They can be, let's say, configured and managed by the controller. So if we have such devices here, then only by taking help of, let's say if I have a router here, so in SDA, it will be known as a different term. And if I'm using SD-WAN, it will be known as a different term. But the point being, they are all connected to the service providers like this. If I can draw it right. Okay, so just get a sense of it like this as well. And now you are also connected to your DC. Somewhere it can be your HQ and you can be connected with your HQ as well. Now, if it is a modern network or a SDN based network, so on your data center, there will be your controllers. So there will be DNAC, not DNAC today, we call it Cisco Catalyst Center, by the way. And this controller is for which kind of automation solution? SDA. So if I want to automate the network of enterprises, I want to automate the network of campuses. So I can buy the switches in such a way, or I can keep using my older switches like 3850s and 3600,000 switches. So some of them I'll show you. There is a compatibility matrix Cisco has given us, and as per that you can check for which role. There are different roles. Again, it will get a lot of technical if I'll keep talking about that, but just to get the sense of it, that different type of devices are needed to be deployed. Like we have the access switches, distribution switches, core switches. So here we have the edge nodes, the fabric nodes, the border node, the control plane node. So all those. So you can see, and we'll see which one are supported and which one are not. So how to go for the brownfield deployments, how to go for the greenfield deployments, right? So all those. So the point being, now this controller here is going to configure these switches. So you don't need to even touch a bit. You can just buy switches you can put here, and all of them will be configured and managed by DNAC. You don't need to do a single thing on the switches itself. Just plug it in, power it on, that's it. So that's the power. And if you want to do the same thing on 100 switches, earlier you need to spend 10 days or 1 month configuring, provisioning, deploying them. Now you can do it in hours or even minutes sometimes. That's the power these networks give us, software defined networks. You also have, let's say, the SD-WAN. So this is SDA, automation of this enterprise or campus site. All right. And if you have this intent in your mind, okay, these are my 100 WAN sites, right? And I don't want to configure and handle them and manage them one by one. No, I want the central management and configuration. Okay. You have a solution for that. SD-WAN. So there will be different controller here. We'll talk about the controllers like vManage, vSmart, vBond, and those controllers now will be connected to your router. See, this is your WAN. So now they were called here as like edge node, border node, control node. So here they will be called as WAN edges. So we'll see all those terminologies and what does it actually mean and how it differentiates. But the point being, controller here can manage just by sitting at your data center. You can manage your thousands of sites. That's fantastically easy, and what should I say, it saves time, it saves error, and the costing, the initial costing can seem intimidating, right, to the organization. But once you get to the flow, once you start saving your operational expenses, then you'll see the power of this tool. All right. So SD-WAN is kind of a WAN solution. So in the COVID, it has boomed up a lot. SD-WAN, it's there. But because SDA was more of a on-site solution, so people need to be there to implement and to actually use it. So due to COVID, it was hit. And now the things are getting normal from last some years. So SDA is, putting the foot on the pedal and getting its space. So SD-WAN and SDA, ACI will not talk about because it is one DC solution, and in CCIE we have the WAN part, WAN technologies, and the enterprise part, but no DC part. So this 60% of our curriculum is about the traditional part, and the 40% of this, including a little bit of automation, that Python scripting and all that. So this is your 40%. This is a sense of it. Is it clear? Any questions so far? And also in your transport, I have just talked about the SDN part. Traditionally, if you see your transport, we have two solutions that we haven't talked about, right? So let me mention them as well, because no enterprise network can be implemented without them. So one of them is the MPLS, and one of them is the DMVPN. So we'll see them as well. So here, these connections, all right. So they can be MPLS because see, even your SD-WAN controllers, right? They need to get connected to your WAN edges. So the connectivity must be there, this WAN connectivity. So for that, either we can make use of MPLS, or we can normally make use of some internet connection. So we'll see how SD-WAN is better or not better. I will say what are the problems posed by MPLS or these tools or the solutions, DMVPN, and how SD-WAN is solving that, how it is helping companies, organizations, saving time, cost, frustration, errors, and everything. So I hope that makes sense. Can I erase it? Any questions so far?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. The last thing I should say that you know that there is no book as such for CCIE. Okay, so what I will do, I'll give you some resources, okay, some PDFs regarding especially your SDN, right? The SD-WAN and the SDA, and also other. If you need, just let me know and I'll upload. You'll have a Google Classroom link, and there you'll find all the material, my labs, that I'll come to it, okay, in a moment, that how we are going to proceed with the labs. So you'll get there, and the workbooks. So I have prepared some, not exactly the workbook, so study notes or the guide plus workbook. So this is a different way I have, or I'm experimenting with things. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So this I'll give you some books, right? The recommended books you will get, the images, and also you'll be helped with everything, all the related theory and lab preparation material. So either you can do it on your, and remember this 60% that I was talking about, you can easily do it on your own laptop, right? So if you have at least a 8 GB of RAM and i3, i5 processors, you're good. BGP, MPLS, OSPF, EIGRP, DMVP, and all those you can do easily, right? But even the 40% out of that, the SD-WAN lab also you can do in your laptop if you have 1632 GB of the RAM. What you cannot do is the SDA part, or if you have a server at your disposal, then you can do. SDA require a lot of hardware resources, right? So it requires to at least 256 plus 8, 264 GB of RAM, and I believe 56 CPU at least. Now you can see this is a lot of resources, right? 3 TB of hard drive. So for this, you need to rely on RX, and you will get a certain, I don't know, it is 140 or 160. You can get, I believe it is 160 hours of rack access. You can use it for this, or you can use it for lab preparation at the last. So that's up to you. So what we recommend, I believe you know that when you are preparing for the lab, actually preparing for the lab, then you utilize these hours. So now you can see, okay, if you want to install PNAT, that I'll show you in a moment on your own laptop as well. So there are support people in your group who will be added. And if you face any challenge installing and using PNAT in your laptop, I believe you'll be helped as soon as possible. So let me get to my presentation and let me see if I have missed something or if I do need to touch any complementary part. But before that, let me show you the lab part. So this is the kind of access that you will have. All right. And then I have prepared all these BGP labs. Okay. And I have prepared these OSPF, EIGRP, SD-WAN. All right. So these are just routing labs. Then we have the DMVPN, switching, SD-WAN, and all these. So now you can see that what I was trying to say. Yes, this also you can do. SDA part you cannot. Even I don't have this one in here in the PNAT. Why? Because I'm not using my virtual devices for the SDA part. So I'll be using all the physical devices. Okay, so that's why it is, like that. You'll be getting this, you'll be getting all those labs. Let me show you in a moment. Let me share my screen again. Let me access that Google Classroom link. If I share it again. Now tell me in a moment if you can see the screen now.
Yes.
Okay. So these are all the lab files. These are compressed files. So this is about OSPF. So this is BGP. This is MPLS. So all this, if it is not there, I'll upload. Okay. Then all these are the images that you need. And these are and this is the content I was talking about. Let me show you that as well. So if I get here and if I get to my PPTs, now you can see this infrastructure, routing, EIGRP and all that. So let's say if I talk about BGP, okay. So I have created these documents. So here you'll see that we get started, and the way the classes are going to be, like first class is always going to be from the CCNA level. Then we'll move to some advanced higher concepts, and then ultimately we'll moving towards the CCI level content that they have mentioned in the blueprint, which we'll see in a moment. So it has the theory part, and as well, if you'll see, it has the lab part. Okay, starting from very basic, let's say BGP, indirect, direct neighborship, and then moving forward with all those other concepts. The route reflector, AS path confederation, and the multipath and all that, right? Clustering and everything. All good. So this is all you are going to get in here. So transport X, this is about your DMVP and MPLS. These are the books I was talking about, and these are my notes that we have prepared. Images, whatever you will need, the router, the switch, and the controllers, everything you will get. The routing part. Okay. So everything is there. All right. So this is what I'll provide you. The lab access, the lab support, the study material, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is what we have covered today. Right. So earlier it was a different game. CCI written, CCI lab. Now it's a different one. You need a CCNP core exam to be cleared, and then you can move for your lab. Okay, so what we have seen, now we'll see as well the technologies which are there. So I'll show you the content. And these we have discussed a little bit today. And when we'll be going for the labs, or let's say the technology classes, so whatever is relevant, we'll keep talking about all that. Or if you feel like you need special information or something like that, you are booking your lab in a different country, or regarding the visa, or all that kind of help, if you need, you'll be provided with. So just don't worry about like anything end to end. So all these tracks are there. We are preparing for this enterprise. So that's why with this 35401 and core is needed for us to go for this CCIE enterprise infrastructure. So this SDN part, and if you just understand or learn this SD-WAN and SDA properly from me in this class, it is going to give back the value for your money, the entire money you have paid for the entire course. Believe me for that. Okay, even if you don't go for a lab, even if you don't attempt the lab or don't pass the lab, you are going to get multiple fold ROI on your training. People who knows to implement and work and troubleshoot SD-WAN, SDN kind of networks, they are very, very less, and they are needed more and more in every part of the world. Right? That's what I have told you, that along the journey, you'll be getting like everything, whatever is needed for the technology and production perspective, and from the lab perspective as well. This is there. And if I show you now exactly the blueprint, now you can see it here. So the 30% part is your network infrastructure. And in that, you have the switched campus. So we have seen that administration basic switch part, layer 2, VLAN, Ether channel, STP, and all that. Then we have the basic routing concepts. We have EIGRP. We have OSPF. In EIGRP, we have the traditional or classic mode. We have the named mode as well. This is one focus in here in EIGRP CCI. And then we have unique things like the leak maps and with the summary. We have this SIA query, SIA reply. I believe you will not be familiar with. Most of the people, they are not. SIA. All right. So you just, I believe, know from the terminology perspective, but in here we'll see how it actually help us in the troubleshooting this part. Then OSPF will focus more on the LSAs, different LSA of IPv4 and IPv6. By the way, we'll touch IPv6 for every technology, BGP, OSPF, IGP, EGP, whatever. All right. So we'll talk about all the LSA types for, let's say, LSA 1.2.7 for OSPF version 2 for IPv4, and also including LSA 8 and 9 for version 3 in IPv6. We'll talk about all of those. We'll talk about some new features like prefix expression, and the stub routing is there, different kind of routers or networks you can configure, not so stub, right? And SSA or stub, totally stub. And as per that, there will be some reduction in your OSPF database, your behavior of your LSA change. We'll see all of that, right? So that will be the main focus of my OSPF classes. We'll talk about network and area types. We'll talk about the virtual links. If it is there, great. Otherwise, we'll talk about this TTL security mechanism, one new feature for security implemented along with your authentication for the security of routing protocols. BGP will start and will have a great, I believe, 2 to 3 week entirely dedicated for BGP. Right? So covering from 2 days will be just, I assume BGP will not be like the forte for everybody of everybody. So we'll see that everybody understand BGP in a great way. So we'll spend more time on BGP from the traditional part perspective, right? Otherwise, it is up to you if you want here some discussions, more elaborated, more explained, that will be up to you. Whatever effort you put from your side, you can ask me the queries and yes, it will be resolved. Okay, but I will stick to my plan. And if it is going to be one way, then it is going to be strictly according to my plan. If it will be interactive, if you will give input, you'll be active in the groups, in the sessions, then who knows what can be there, right? But yes, otherwise, if it depends, right, on the participants, on you guys, how the classes are going to be. So we have the, attribute manipulation, and we have some policies, inbound, outbound, standard, extended. We'll talk about communities, and we'll see like pretty much everything is there in the, what should I say, the CCIE part. And one more thing, remember, BGP, either it is MPLS, DMVPN, all the technologies, they are not specifically for just one kind of network. BGP, for example, is a data center technology as well. Service providers hugely use BGP. So whatever features are relevant for our EI, they are there and not everything. Okay, so we'll focus more on the blueprint. And that is a lot here. You can see BGP is a lot. That's why it takes 2 to 3 weeks. Route reflector, aggregators, and multipath, and your dynamic neighborship, everything is there. Multicast, I think, so some of the sessions that I told you about, that they may not be there in the lab, or just as a presence they are there. So they don't affect much of your passing score, but they are quite important from the production point of view, and which are, there in this curriculum from CCNA, CCNP. So I'll not spend, much of the time there. And as you know, maybe, so some of the sessions I'll provide you as a pre-recorded ones on your self-paced based. You can see them. If you have any query, you can ask me. We can schedule a class for that. But not entirely I'm going to spend time. If I'll show you what I mean by that is here. I'm leaving this SDN part for now. And see here, this is 15%. Okay, your infrastructure security and service. 15% not from the lab exam itself. No, from the curriculum perspective. And see the huge amount of content there. And it's nothing new. Everything you have discussed in your CCNA, CCNP, span R span, it is there in the CCNP. SLA is there in the CCNP. NAD is there. DHCP is there. NTP is there. FHRP is there. Okay, everything. So that's why we'll not talk about everything. So these are mainly your self-paced sessions are going to be. Coming to your software-defined infra, this is 25%. The Cisco SDA, where we'll talk about all the device onboarding processes and the device roles, Lisp, VXLAN, control plane, data plane, fabric, all those things. We'll see what is handoff, layer 2, handoff, layer 3, what is segmentation, macro segmentation, and everything. Then SD-WAN will see the device onboarding, certificate installation, and your controller onboarding, your router onboarding, their first time contact and communication, then policy configuration, centralized, localized, template configuration, and your different application aware routing, security, everything will be there. It will be one full-fledged SD-WAN course. Transport, I told you MPLS will be there, not much. DMVPN will be there, not much. Because they are primarily service provider topics. So that is from the content perspective that we have. Network infrastructures, SDN, transport X, infrastructure, security and services. And then this is about the Python, the last part. So they'll give you a script maybe, and then you need to be able to read and read the script, identify if there is any error in the script, and maybe need to change the script. So we'll talk about that as well in the lab preparation sessions. Yes, guys, that's pretty much it from my side regarding this demo session today.
Yeah, I was focusing on the lab actually because written I given 2 years back.
Hmm.
Okay, so how we are suggesting or guiding us to focus on the lab to achieve
Lab part will
awesome.
come as per the batch is concerned. So first for the 3 months at least, we are going to cover this technology part. You know, all these layer 2, layer 3 traditional and SDN technologies, and then after we'll start preparing for the lab. But if you want it right away, we have earlier batches as well going on. So maybe they are in their second or third month, though they have started preparation for the lab. So you can join, I believe, those people as well. So it's up to you how you want it to be. Like first the theory session, not the theory, I'll say the technology session, then the lab, or simultaneously. It's up to you. How much time and effort you can put.
Hi, Kuldeep. Yeah, same with mine also. I have done my CCNP Core 2 years back uh, exam. So,
Okay,
but I would like to focus on the technology part and then go for the lab.
fantastic.
So, yeah, that is.
Fantastic. Yes. So first 2.5, 3 months, it will be about technologies, and then it will be about the lab. Yes. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today for this demo session. And I hope it was useful for all of you in one way or other. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Yeah. Bye bye. Take care.
See
Yeah,
you. Bye bye.
thank you.